In this section, we're going to look at hemoglobin. So hemoglobin is what oxygen binds to. The heme part, so heme is actually Greek for blood. And the heme group is held together by iron. So Fe on the periodic table is iron. So iron is an important ingredient in order to hold this heme together. There's 4 binding sites. So there's alpha 1 and alpha 2 and beta 1 and beta 2. So those are the 4 binding sites where oxygen will bind. Okay, the models of protein, as you can see here, are these convoluted 3D folds. And so anytime you look at proteins on a molecular level like this, they're going to simply show you that protein fold. So this is what the protein part, the globin, looks like. Okay, so this is where we get the full word hemoglobin from. There is a lab you can run on somebody called a CBC, and that stands for complete blood counts. And some things that you can look for, so some common measurements are hematocrit, hemoglobin concentration, and red blood cell count. Okay, the hematocrit, which essentially is packed cell volume or the percentage of whole blood volume composed of the red blood cells. Another way of looking at it is how many red blood cells are packed per cubic millimeter. So this is an example of a CBC. Okay, so a CBC, and let's go over a couple things. So we have white blood cells, and these days with the labs, they'll always show you the results. So they draw the blood from the patient, goes to the lab, they give you the current results. So that would be this column. And then they'll tell you if it's high or low or out of range. And then they'll also show you normal. Okay, so all labs have a normal range, and usually on these printouts, they'll show you those normal ranges. Okay, so we have white blood cells, so WBC, white blood cells, and the result 9.9, and that does fall within the normal range. So if we saw high red blood cells, so let's say the score was 20.2, well, white blood cells' job is to fight off infections, so that would indicate this person is fighting something if you saw high white blood cells. All right, next is red blood cells. And this person's results was 4.99, and you can compare that to your normal range here, so it does fall within normal. Okay, here is hemoglobin with a score of 14.4. There's your hematocrit, score of 45.4. So with hematocrit, let's say the person's score was 58. Okay, so that would be considered polycythemia. So the blood and viscosity would be high, so the thickness of blood would be high. And a quick way to fix that is a blood dump. So you would want to donate blood, about a pint, to lower that hematocrit level. Okay, so you do not want polycythemia, or too many red blood cells that can create blood clots and other problems. Okay, there is MCV. So one thing that labs like to do is abbreviate a lot of stuff. Okay, so MCV stands for mean corpuscular volume. So the mean in this case is the mathematical mean, which means the average. Okay, so the mean corpuscular volume. And what that does is it measures the size, the average size of the red blood cell. Okay, MCH. So all of these M's are going to be the word mean. So MCH is mean corpuscular hemoglobin. So this is measuring the average amount of hemoglobin within the red blood cell. So this is really good for oxygen carrying capacity evaluation. Some people, if they're struggling to breathe, or maybe they're cyanotic, which means a bluish appearance, maybe it's because their hemoglobin is low, and the lab would have picked up on that. Okay, next would be MCHC, and that one stands for mean corpuscular hemoglobin concentration. So this measures the average amount of the hemoglobin in the red blood cells, so how concentrated they are. All right, we have red blood cell diameter width. So a red blood cell has a certain diameter. If the diameter is too big, that could mean a vitamin B12 deficiency. There's some other problems that could take place, but that's a common one. All right, here's a lab of platelets. So there's your blood clotting. And then here's your white blood cells. So the neutrophils, lymphocytes, monocytes, eosinophils, and basophils. These are the white blood cells, and they listed them from most abundant to least abundant. All right, so if let's say the eosinophils was high of a score of 15, based on a prior video that we did, that would let you know that they're either fighting a parasite or an allergy response. Now, in this case, the absolute lymphocytes came back high. The absolute lymphocytes came back high. Okay, so that might indicate some sort of infection, and in the medical world, one of the first things that they would likely go to is cancer, including leukemia. So they'd probably do further testing just to rule out cancer. Okay, it's just barely high, but still, it's either infection, such as the flu, or some sort of inflammatory condition like autoimmune. But in more serious cases, it could be some sort of blood cancer, like lymphoma or leukemia.